Boy, oh boy, do I have a treat of a movie that I want to talk about today. As the title suggests, Face Off was the craziest movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm really trying to think about it. I really do believe it was not. I'm not exaggerating. Nick Cage movies are always a treat. I just felt like yesterday I was watching City of Angels. Great movie, you should go watch it. But as my journey of Nick Cage movies continues, I should probably keep watching more because these are comedy gold. It don't get better than this. Nick Cage, I truly believe, is the greatest actor of our generation. I watched yesterday with a friend, and might I say, Nick Cage was born to play a role where he is playing another actor playing himself. So, what is Face Off about? For those who don't know about 1997's Face Off, I'm sure a good chunk of you have already seen this movie. I mean, like I said, it's an old movie. Now, this is going off all pure memory from what Face Off is about and why that movie is crazy and why that movie is bonkers. You have John Travolta is an FBI agent, Sean Archer, Archer. FBI agent, right? He's hunting down Nicolas Cage, a terrorist, right? First of all, opening scene, it's like The Punisher. His son whacked. I was like, this is how you open a movie. I was absolutely flabbergasted within the first literally a minute of the movie. Time jump. 6 years later, John Travolta is Grease Lightning. He is like, I gotta find Troy. I gotta find Natural Treasure Man. And eventually, in a crazy, how do you even say it? It was kind of a car chase, plane, helicopter, shootout, gunfight scene. I mean, I think it's probably the first time in my life that I ever saw a movie where they're doing the sideways jumping and shooting. Actually seeing that. I don't know where that trend came from, but I was like, they're actually doing the sideways shooting. And I was thinking dang, imagine if they filmed a Marvel movie like this. That would be absolutely insane. So within the first overall 10 minutes of the movie, the guy gets captured, right? And he's like, I'm done. I'm putting it to bed. I'm going home to my wife and my rebellious daughter. And maybe I could start going to therapy, forget about the pain that I was caused by Nick Cage, Castor Troy, that's his name in the movie. And then all of a sudden, there's a bomb, and this bomb's gonna blow up. If we don't do anything about this bomb, people are gonna get hurt, right? Obviously. So it's like, you got one last job, and then you're out of the game for good. And he's like, oh, okay. And they're like, okay, well, we need, Nicolas Cage's brother to talk, right? So what do we do here? Well, we can send you to prison, in disguise. But how can we do that? Well, we have this futuristic surgery that's gonna take your face off and take his face off and then put his face on your face. You get what I'm saying here? And don't mind all the other aspects body weight. We magically can fix that. Hollywood magic, eye color, whatever. As my friend told me, don't think about it too much. It ruins the fun for a little bit. Don't even think the fact that there's a bunch of other different aspects of the body that would be different. We'll get to that in a minute. They have voice changer computer chips in their throat or whatever. They all figured out. That's the least of the technical difficulties of this movie that you should worry about. So eventually he's like, no, I don't want to do it. But then he's like, okay, I'll do it. He does it. He goes to the prison. He's trying to become one with Castor Troy, be a little crazy and goofy. And then we have Nick Cage just being Nick Cage and crazy in prison, beating up people, trying to get info from his brother in crime. Meanwhile, the terrorist dude, Nick Cage character, well, not Nick Cage, John Travolta character. Okay, Castor Troy, he wakes up in the hospital. His face is off, like in the movie Face Off, right? And then he, contacts he basically gets his goons or whatever to bring about the doctor who did the surgery. He's like, okay, I want John Travolta's face because his face is just sitting in a little water, alcohol, I don't know what solution it's sitting in, a saline solution, a contact lens, I don't know. Put his face on my face. And this is some gangster part right here because there are moments where it briefly shows his deformed face. I don't know how he's talking. He don't have lips. He does sound very not cohesive, but it was pretty gangster of Nick Cage in this moment. The man was acting all over the place. I feel like he acting in multiple places. There's just so many scenes where I said, I've never seen Face Off. I vaguely knew the premise, and I'm seeing so many scenes I think I've seen memes of this. It's always fun to see that. That's one of my favorite things about seeing movies. I do it all for the memes. But the Hallelujah scene in the beginning, Nick Cage is just as a Catholic priest. I'm assuming he's Catholic, I don't know. But as a priest or whatever, just being a very provocative man. As priests sometimes be like that, right? But so anyways, back to the plot at hand. He's like, put Archer's face on my face and we'll be good to go. So he does. He then goes about and kills anyone who knows, because only like 3 people know about this. It's a secret off the books operation, you know, no one can know about it, not even your wife. And he's like, I remember when they were talking and doing it, and he's like, so you want me to like sneak into a prison, become my arch nemesis and betray everyone I love? And then he's like, well, I'll do it. I'm like, really, bud? Then again, you know, we didn't do it. We wouldn't have a movie. We wouldn't have a movie that made $245.7 million in the box office. The budget for this movie was $80 million. I was trying to wonder what the budget was, because there were some scenes there I'm like, how much did this cost to do? There was some CGI involved in this and explosions, but he goes to the prison. They got metal boots. It's like a whole Alcatraz futuristic type prison, kind of, in my opinion. Yeah, they got the cute little like forest playing in the thing. Yeah, John Travolta visits him in the prison, kills everybody who knows, and then he's like, well, you know, now I'm gonna go live your life, and you know, you have a wife? Well, not anymore, bud. All right, like what yours is now is mine. What yours is now is mine. Yeah, he has a breakdown. He's like, what? You know, and it's a really like, okay, dang, he really got you there, buddy. So, John Travolta, Sean Archer now, or I guess it's Castor Troy now. Yeah, Castor Troy as Sean Archer now is going to live his life. He's different. He's switched up. He's all cool, Casanova. Goes home to his wife, and you know, they haven't made love in like months. He gets really weird with his enemy's daughter, and yeah. So this is the part where I was like, okay, if you sleep with your enemy's wife, wouldn't she know like different sizes, maybe something? Also, he had like a scar. You know, did they put that on him? So that's one of those things where like, okay, we're getting in the weeds of this. But as my friend said, don't think about it too much. Just keep watching. Eventually, miraculously, I feel like, I don't know if I see this in movies a lot lately, but Archer breaks out of the prison. You know, Archer as Castor Troy breaks out of the prison. I don't feel like I see many prison break movies lately, but it's a very action-y scene. He gets help from this other guy he beat up earlier. It was pretty cool. I was like, dang, that's some explosions and gunfire. My friend said they watched it as a child, and I was like, dang, how are you allowed to watch this as a child? This is not a child-friendly movie. There's so much death and innuendos in this movie, you know? So he managed to escape, finds out that the prison is on an oil rig or whatever, jumps into the ocean, and is like, he finds his way back to the city. I don't remember what city this place was based off of. I'll put it right here. That's the city. It had to have been an ocean city, San Diego. Anyways, it's very interesting to see like a terrorist, you know, killer guy try to live a normal life. It was funny. There were aspects of that movie where he kind of did be a better husband. In a weird way. He was a little more attentive to his wife. I mean, obviously he was trying to woo her, right? You know, obviously he was manipulating her. Let's not forget that. Definitely was being weird toward his daughter. But there was a scene where he saved her from Danny Masterson. You know, Danny being, you know, what he, I guess, does best. And then teaches her, like, I guess, pretty much self-defense, which comes back later. I remember when I was watching the movie, I was like, what is the point of having this daughter in this movie? And I didn't really fully know yet. I guess they bridged that gap a little later on. Although I feel like her character wasn't fully, like, I feel like she didn't have to be there, you know. But she does come into play later, so I'll give him that one. Another point when Nick Cage as John Travolta, that's getting confusing. When Archer Nick Cage, Archer Troy get back, he hooks up with some homies of Troy Castor's homies, but they're not his homies. They think they're his homies, and he's like, "What do you want to do when you catch the FBI agent, Archer?" Well, I want to take his face off, and you're like, "Oh, he said the name of the movie, Face Off." Then you learn that Castor has a son. You knew the son existed. You just didn't know that it was his. Now, when they introduce his son, because Archer lost his son at the beginning because of Castor. When he hugs Castor's son, he's like crying because it's like it's bringing all these feelings, right? And in this moment, I'm like, I'm getting a weird vibe here from this, and I kind of have a feeling I know where this is going, but we'll get there in a minute. There's a shootout. At this point, I'm like, there's so many times. I was gonna say this movie's long. It's like 2 hours and like 18 minutes. By like today's movie standards, that I guess wouldn't necessarily consider long. Maybe like Oppenheimer was like what 3-4 hours. I don't remember how long Oppenheimer was. Dune was like 3 hours. But like there were so many times I'm like, I thought this movie was about to be over, but it's not. They had this shootout and they face off, and I thought this would be the end of the movie, because then Archer kills Troy's brother. At this point, like his brother did know the face swap, but he eventually gets killed. And so I was just like, I thought this part, like, okay, they're done fighting. They're gonna kill each other here. Nope, we still got like another 30 minutes of the movie. I'm like, okay, I need a bathroom break because this is taking damn too long. Troy as Archer kills like the FBI head and is like, I'm FBI agent head now. I'm glorious hero to the nation. And that's like another reason, like, motivation for Troy wanting to do this. It's like his brother's like, we could be rich from like blowing up terrorism and being terrorists or whatever. And it's like, well, we could be rich once we're America's hero. And all I could think about was like, if this was the real world, I have a feeling no one would ever hear about this operation, and I don't think any FBI, there's not enough tax dollars, I think, to pay an FBI agent that much, especially not now these days. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just a little, like, I guess glory's cool to have, right? But I think there were some flaws with fans. But if you wanted to go straight, I can understand why. You know, a life of crime is sometimes a hard one. Anyways, eventually there comes a point where, I mean, like I said, the chief or whatever, he gets killed by Archer. It's like by Troy's Archer, not Nick Cage, whatever, the bad guy. They fake a heart. He gives him a heart attack. Basically, they have his funeral, and then at that funeral, that's when like kind of the showdown happens. There's a big shootout, and it's like, okay, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Okay, I'm Archer. No, I'm Archer. No, you're Sean. No, you're Troy. No, you're Castor. Who's who? Anyways, we just start shooting. People die. Troy's like love interest dies, the one who has a kid with. She like kind of helps Archer's wife survive, which is kind of sweet, but dies. And it's like, you know, make sure my son's taken care of, whatever. She dies. More shootout. They kidnap Archer's daughter. Archer's like, oh no. But then it's like the daughter doesn't know that Archer is Troy's Archer. You know what I mean, right? You get the point of it, purpose of it at this point. Doesn't know that's happening. So like she shoots her dad and then gets kidnapped by Troy, who looks like her dad. But early in the movie, when he was teaching self-defense and gave her a cigarette, gives her a butterfly knife and teaches her like go for the thigh twist. She does that to him, which is like, okay, there we go. There's a connection of why the daughter wasn't there in the movie in the first place. He runs off to the beach, gets a speedboat, is killing people while he's going on the speedboat. And this is the part I was like, okay, this is a crazy scene. This is a boat chase scene. There's a part where like the boat hits another boat and flies off in the air. I mean, like it's literally like a scene from GTA 5. And I was like, what was the budget? Like, boats are exploding. I was like, I don't know how much fuel is in a boat to make it explode like that, but it does. They're ramming everything. Like I said, that's when I was like, what was the budget of this movie? And I feel like 80 million is actually kind of small for what I saw. There's a lot of explosions in this movie. Crazy. Maybe explosives were just huge back then. I don't know. I don't know how movies work. I'm just a commentator. But epic chase scene. They're fighting on a boat. And then, you know, they crash the boat, right? Or does it catch on fire? No, it hits the dock or whatever, like the shore. They have more fight. There's more fighting, stabbing. Archer, who's Troy, is shooting Troy, who's Archer. Yeah, with a harpoon gun. But then he's like, stops it with his bare hand. And then he's like, when you look in the mirror, it's just going to be my face. And he starts cutting his own face, right? Or I guess Archer's face. So it could be scarred. But eventually he does kill him. And he's just like, just hanging there on the wall, harpooned to death. Which there was a scene in the movie where he goes to go visit him in prison. And he's like, it's like looking in a mirror, but it's not. And then I just like, I've heard that quote before, and now I know where that's from. And it's a stupid quote, but it made me laugh. Oh my god, this movie is just ridiculous. So this is the part where I get really confused, because at this point, they kind of rush everything. I guess they realized the movie was too damn long. All of a sudden, they're like, we got the top doctors in the world to come help you. It's like, you tell me that some random top doctors, I get that they're top doctors, right? But they managed to do a face transplant through a surgery that was already like some top secret, like new technique, right? They managed to take the face off and put it back on. These doctors who didn't know about the surgery, like a little plot hole to me, but we're trying to wrap everything in a nice bow. So I get it. They put his face back. But what my issue is when they put his face back, well, there's also a moment where he's like, don't put the scar back. Because he wanted to put his scar back on because it's a reminder of his son dying. But then he's like later on, I don't need it anymore. I'm healed now. But so knock on the door, the wife and the daughter, they open up and it's John Travolta, like Sean Archer, like as him, not like Nick Cage, Castor Troy. And there's nothing wrong with him, nothing at all. There's no scar, like no seam on the line of the face that indicated that they just sewed his face back on or lasered it or whatever. Which if there was no scar on the side of the face, I wouldn't be upset. But what I was upset, there was no scar on like where Nick Cage cut him, or John Travolta, Nick Cage, you know what I mean? The bad guy cut his own face, like cut the face. He cut his face in multiple areas, and there's no, like, I would have been perfectly okay if there's like maybe like a little bandage there, you know, like the little white strips, those little rectangle strips they do. I wanted to see that, but no, I was like, he looks like nothing wrong with him. The man had a bloody battle with his arch nemesis, and like everyone was against him. FBI was against him. The only one who believed him was his wife, but it took her like forever to like prove that he was right, because she had to stab Castor Troy, who looked like her husband, in the middle of the night to test his blood, right? And there's a scene where she's like, we were man and wife for a while, and that's when we had a question, me and my friend, would you consider that cheating? Like, we kind of like, maybe not, but like also like that is like if that happened in real life, I'm sure there would be a lot of therapy that would have to go on. I don't know if a marriage would be the same after that. Maybe it could, I don't know, but that's wild. I want a Face Off 2. I want a Face Off 2 that just shows the effects of having your face, because there are so many times where like he gets high on drugs and he's like, I am Castor Troy. I'm no longer Shark Archer. I'm Nick Cage, baby. There's so many moments where that happens, and I'm like, what are the ramifications of having that happen to you? Taking drugs, having to become a criminal, your arch nemesis, having to look at his face every day, knowing that he, effed your wife, was very creepy towards your daughter. You were in a gun shootout, killed a lot of people you knew and loved. I want Face Off 2, where it's like facing off therapy. That's the movie I want. So the scar, there's no scar that bothered me, but happy typo. And then that's when, in the most cheesiest line ever, the daughter was like, Dad, I'm sorry I shot you. Look, throughout the movie, he's doing this whole thing where he's just like putting his hand on like people's faces and just like there. I don't know why it's so funny. Just, he does it to like everybody. He does it to like himself. I don't know why this is funny. But Dad, sorry I shot you. Okay. And then he's like, there's somebody I want you to meet. And I was like, it's the kid. It's going to be the kid. You know who it was? It was the damn kid. Yeah. So he's like, we are now going to adopt my arch nemesis son, and we're going to raise him as our own. Everyone was like, cool. I'm cool with that. Wife's like, sure. The daughter, yeah, cool. Let's go upstairs and go play with toys. The wife, yeah, okay, cool. You just gonna let this happen? Like, I mean, I get it. Like, he made a promise, but I was like, I feel like there needs to be like I said, Face Off 2. Let's face some therapy. Could you imagine growing up later, like, Dad? I'm not sure actually your dad. You're 16 now. Let me tell you the story about who's your real dad and how I killed him. That probably will be Face Off 3 or the Netflix series Face Off Forever. So I was just like, damn, that is actually crazy. This movie was crazy. You swap faces with your arch nemesis. He bones your wife. You get sent to prison and you're stuck there. You have to break out. You kill your arch nemesis brother. He's upset. You almost sleep with his girlfriend. You do drugs. And then after all that, you kill him and you're like, I'm going to adopt his son. Face Off was a crazy movie. And as I'm sitting there watching all this, I'm like, wait a minute. Where have I seen something similar to this before? Because like, to me, the most interesting part of the movie was Castor having to be a normal person, having to infiltrate this guy's life and go straight, and be a husband, be a father, a weird one at that. But to some degree, everyone's like, they kind of like the newer version of him in some degree. Like, even his coworkers like, did you get the stick removed from your, you know what I mean? Like, he's still a little sleazy, but he's smooth talking, slow walking. He's got everything that you're wanting or whatever. I was like, this looks very familiar. And I was just like, is this a JoJo reference? Juice out.
I can eat a peach for hours.